Okay, that's a great lead-in to the discussion that we want to have with the panel. We have a pretty good and interesting mix. We have venture capitalists who are funding startups, funding D2C business, new brands. We've got mall experts who are actually running malls, who are giving space to these brands. We've got new age brands. Vinod is representing NewMe. And sort of cutting across this whole ecosystem is a service offering like what our company does, which is LITE Store, which is bringing D2C brands to the offline world. So I'm going to start by asking Mandar and then Sanil to elaborate on how they see the whole market changing, what are the dynamics, why are they looking at D2C brands, why D2C first of all, that's a big question. Why is that happening, why are they investing, what are the risks, what are the potential rewards, and their whole view of this new emerging powerhouse of brands. So let me start with Mandar first, please.
Thanks, Raghu. Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for... audible? Good evening, everyone. Thank you for staying back this late in the evening. Interesting question, Raghu. A couple of points from my end. Look, as India, the GDP per capita keeps on increasing in India. There is an inherent desire to have, say, from the consumers, to want new brands, especially the millennials, people across different demographics and strata. They want different brands that they can resonate with, that they feel that resonates with their personality, and they want options beyond what is obvious and what is available today. And hence we see a lot of great founders coming up with interesting ideas about new age brands. 4 or 5 years ago, or maybe 7 years ago, there were a lot of brands which were initially internet only, and then they became internet first. But what we have realized over the last few years is that for a brand to become large, you need it to be omnichannel. And there, the online strategy is where you create brand awareness. It's easier for them to do that, but the customer acquisition cost over time still doesn't come down as much as what the brands think, and hence you need an offline strategy to go along with that. And with this omnichannel strategy done right, you get the brand awareness and the brand pull from the online, and from the offline you get brand recall as well as a strong unit economics which your offline provides. Also, if you just look at India at a very macro level, right? Today, India is what, a $3.4 trillion economy. 28% is still retail, and that will continue. India inherently is a market where you will have retail as a large part. Consumers today still need, they have different touch points, online, offline, and they still need, they want those touch points. And hence, even if you know or if you experience something offline, then they want to know about it more online. They experience first online, they still want to touch and feel offline. And hence, having both of them together is a strategy that we think will win in India. And that is what we are seeing in most of the business that we have seen or funded. And that's what we are seeing. I'll pause here. Probably, Sanil, if you want to add on what you are seeing.
Yeah, I'm going to pass on to Sanil, and I'm going to ask him, because he funds a whole lot of startups. What is it that a fund like his looks at when they decide to invest, and how do, the other thing, just leading on from what Mandar said, what's growth? I mean, is growth 10 crores, 100 crores, 1,000 crores? How do you see, when you assess a brand, how do you assess the potential?
Yeah, firstly, thank you for having me here alongside a extremely esteemed panel. I'm a learner more than a contributor to what I'm going to experience. And thank you for being here for this session. a lot to learn from you all. I'm actually going to add to what Mandar was also saying because it's complementary to the question that you asked. I think India's the position we're in today. I always believe that India is an incredible adopter and an even better adapter to the consumer trends that are coming. Now, what do I mean by an adopter? There are trends that are there in the way India has consumed food that have evolved, be it wellness-oriented, be it fads that could be deemed as for diet, etc. But they've been adapted to this whole Indianized manner, and I think we can attest to that when we look at how fast food has a very specific menu in India. So I think India adopts and then adapts to the Indianized manner. And why that's exciting for me today when I evaluate early stage ventures is because that's when I start to segment the many Indias or the Bharats that we have and really see which wallet is a Huddle venture-backed company going after. Now, when I evaluate that, the next step I evaluate is how is exponential scale going to come? Now, exponential scale for me is defined by two factors. One is the defined ceiling of the online growth. I think what we were all discussing earlier is that people used to believe offline had a ceiling. Truly, I think online has a limited ceiling of growth. Offline is exponentially large in this country. I completely agree with what ma'am was mentioning. Digital is absolutely enabling people to both experience online, but also recognize that the true growth of a venture after a while, and I say this confidently agnostic to any sector, will happen offline, and the reason is the following.
Yeah, please note this. Huh? Please note this. I mean, the malls are very important and relevant. You know?
The reason is the following. That if we all sitting here had to close our eyes and think of a family outing, family can be defined as two people going or many people going. You end up going to a location that has multiple touch points for every member of that family. And you can't do that in the online world. In the online world, you're stuck to your phone and you're having your experience, they're having theirs, you're not sharing it. In the offline world, you have that experience, and I don't think Indian values will allow online to take over offline. So I think that that's the kind of evaluation we go into. I'll sort of conclude on one point, how we evaluate founders. I know I actually haven't answered that. We look at obsessed founders, someone that is just absolutely obsessed in what they're doing, convinced about knowing their consumer. I do want to give a special mention and a shout out of founders that I love working with. I mean, with y'all as LITE Store, there's an obsession of building for the consumer ecosystem. With Dhruv over there at the PAN project, he understands every consumer he has been able to cater to. And I think that's what speaks about the founders. We love knowing, hopefully backing, and being a part of their journey.
Okay, well, that's great insight from both of them. I'm going to now turn first to the mall experts here. And let me start with Ali first. I've worked with Ali for many, many years, and it's, the case of his company, Prestige, is quite unique. Built a large portfolio, sold the portfolio, and they're recreating the portfolio from scratch. So they've already launched 2 centers and a smaller shopping center. So Ali, how do you see this whole D2C brand business? How do you evaluate when, say, forget LITE Store, if the brands come to you, what is missing in your portfolio that sort of says, okay, let me look at these brands. What value add do they bring? And what are the criteria do you look at? How important is all this whole D2C influx into the shopping centers?
Well, we have been building malls for 21 years now. 21 years. So when we started our first mall in 2004, Bangalore, Koramangala, the Forum Koramangala, about 40% of the stores were startups because retail was new. Most of the established brands today were startups then. And if we look at the mix the tendencies that we had then, we don't have more than 50% of the brands operating anymore. So, so what mall started doing, Hero is the brand. So when we lease the mall, and I can see some leasing executives here all around me, brand is the hero. So when we start with a clean slate, whether it's a new mall or it's a churn in an existing mall, brand is the hero. We just go behind the brands. Okay, it's international brand, bigger the mileage, bigger the weightage. And if it's a more proven brand, bigger the weightage. We are not worried whether this brand is already there in 10 malls in the city. We are not worried if the same brand is already occupying in High Street very close to us. We are not taking that effort because we have seen a lot of startups fail. We have seen a lot of brands who were there are not there anymore. So that's a risk that we have to take. Space is limited. So when it comes to malls, brand is the hero. But when it comes to the startups that we are talking about and what I hear now, the product is the hero. And what our customer is interested in is the product. So, and the established brands, for them, the priority is expansion. The priority is revenue targets. The priority is growth. But for the startups, the priority is the customer, how to get that edge, how to get a leverage which is more than what others are offering. So this is making life interesting for everyone. So now we are seeing hyper-personalized products. What Rama also mentioned, the small things. People are finally paying attention to smaller details, which are differentiating products, giving more options. And that is creating very interesting times as far as malls are concerned. Because we have been apparel heavy. 65-70% of the space is apparel. And the sad thing is the same apparels are repeated in a department store, outside the department store, so on and so forth. So the depth in consumption isn't there. So one exciting thing is that product is the hero. You guys are backing brands which are established, and we get to see them. And second is, we are going beyond fashion. We are going beyond wardrobe. And we are trying to address and sell things, and we ourselves consume them, but we don't realize that these things are not taking the organized space. So it's time to bring the larger consumption inside the buildings, and you guys are helping. So that is the most interesting part that we are seeing in our malls.
Okay. Yogeshwar's experience is simply superb. He ran for many, many years, probably the most successful shopping center in the country, Select City Walk, and now, of course, he's spearheading business development and leasing for DLF. So, I just want to ask Yogesh, tell me, what attracts you potentially about bringing in all these D2C brands?
Yep.
Why would a DLF even consider giving space to these brands?
Yep.
And, what's missing in the mix today?
Yeah.
Just to take on from what Ali was telling you.
Sure. So thank you, Raghu. Thank you, everyone. I'll go back to the basics. Very simply put, no brand is good or bad. Either it's relevant or not relevant to a consumer. No. So never undermine a brand. No. That's the first principle. If the mere existence of a brand says that there's a consumer of it. And especially for malls, similarly, there is no one catchment. No, even within the catchment, there are subsets of society. Like within fitness, looks like one fitness, but within fitness, there are many kinds of consumers, yoga to runners, to cyclists, to Zumba, So a person has to know the mall well and the catchment well, and then the selection of brands becomes very easy. The next challenge comes, as ma'am said, no, the consumers are always ahead of the supply. Consumers know. 20 years ago when Mac and Clinic wanting to enter India through Shoppers Stop, our leasing team, I had no clue of that brand. No? Similarly, I see and I come across a lot of leasing teams where they are not the consumers. So supposing I'll take a very realistic example. I'm head of leasing. You mentioned that I have a lot of experience, so thanks for believing that. If I have to decide between a beauty brand, between Armani Beauty or a Prada Beauty or a YSL Beauty or a Bobby Brown or a Mac, I have zero experience, So my qualification should be that I have to be open-minded, and I have to believe in the collective wisdom of the team. and I have to keep the consumer in the center. If these three things are in place, then the selection of brands becomes very easy and the chances of failures are very, very less. So D2C brands are a very, very good addition to the malls because they are selling. There's always a proof of concept that there is a consumer. And the same, they're not two different consumers. The same consumer is buying online and same consumer is coming to the mall for various needs. So if the malls have to remain relevant, they have to include D2C brands for many reasons. One, that it will bring the consumers to the mall. Second, these brands have proof of concept. They want to scale up. And when they want to scale up, they want to experiment. I mean, they're a little hesitant to go all out. So we can take advantage of that. I mean, advantage is a strong word. I mean, but we can take advantage of that in the sense that the brand wants to come in and want to experiment. And many times in mall, we have gaps between the leases. So we can have temp stores, we can have markets, we can have experimental marketing to test market that the brands, how the consumers are responding to the malls. So I love it because it gives us more options and we can fill spaces. That's our primary job and we can make some money.
Okay, that's great. I'm now going to turn to the one person who represents an incredibly fast-growing Gen Z-focused fashion brand, NewMe. At LITE Store, we're very happy to be their partner. They were a pure online player, and last year we spoke to them and said, why don't you actually take a leap of faith and open a store? And after several discussions, Sumit and Vinod bought into it, and we actually opened our first store with Ali in Forum in Bangalore, the new Forum. Rapidly scaled to 5 stores. We're looking at, 20, 25 stores in the next 1 year. That's the rate of growth, while they've kept their focus on online. So I want Vinod to sort of share the journey, why they decided to go offline, what's in it for them, while they continue to grow online, and how do they see the road ahead, especially in this whole new offline world for a brand like this?
Thanks, Raghu. I think very interesting that when we started our online journey and we are 18 months old, we never thought that we'll go offline so soon. I think thanks to LITE Store, I think we started the discussion. And what has really, now getting into insight is that the places where we open store, our online contribution has also increased 25% in that zone. That's a very interesting insight. So that's a very interesting insight for us. So apart from the trust that is getting built for a new age brand like us, because obviously we're a new brand, it's a journey that we'll have to go to ensure that trust is being generated. But apart from that, the entire incremental sale that we're getting from those pin codes where we're opening store, that's one, I think, a big win for us. And also in terms of metrics, the online comes with their own challenges, right? We spoke about CAC. CAC is always the challenge. Returns is still a big challenge online. So the advantage of going offline soon is also your gross to net gets better on, because your returns are not there, cancellations are not there. And the entire omnichannel experience that we're building in, I think that's evolving big time for us. And specifically for a brand like us, who are a new age brand, we are targeting to the Gen Z customer base, which is 16 to 24 years age. They are very demanding. They know exactly what they want. They are very tech savvy, right? This is the first generation who are born with mobile phones, right? They're very tech savvy. They know exactly what they want. And they are on Instagram. We call them the Instagram savvy customer base. They want instant gratification. They look at anything which is trending. They want it real time. So I think that's been made available through the offline journey right now, the way we are doing it. And in fact, if you look at the stores that we are building, be it the tech part that we are playing, there's a lot of data that is going behind the way we open stores. We don't open a store in a city. We do first pop-up. We look at the pin code data in that zone, what type of sales we're getting, and then we log the city or a mall. And the stores also, the way we're building the stores, you look at the entire VM of the store, and like there are a lot of points where people come and create organic content. So that's also helping us creating a lot of organic content, which probably we have to do to the paid zone. So every trial room, like for instance, is different. There is a different story across each trial room. There are a lot of VM points where people come and create selfies. So it's a selfie generation, that's what I call him. So I think really, to be very honest, I think we have seen a drastic improvement in terms of overall sales. Also, I think we're able to engage the customer probably in a way that they're coming to a store and creating a lot of trust, creating a lot of content, which is helping us in terms of building this brand much faster. So that's been our journey, and I think we are expanding now. Like you said, we are opening 15 more stores, and we are looking at an average store of 5,000 square feet because we are an online-only brand, and we launch almost 600 designs on a weekly basis. So we change the freshness of our store every 15 days. That's what I think we are trying to do, so that every time a customer comes in, he sees a new collection in the store. And if you don't make your decision of buying that time, that stock might just run out. So that's the impulse that we are creating within the store also. So I think that's really helping us in terms of building this entire new age store.
Okay, thanks. I'm just going to ask Rama to share her insights. I mean, we talk of D2C, online. I don't think customers look at it anything like that. How do customers, the Gen Z customers, look at brands? What is it these guys have to do to figure out how to even launch a brand, how to target customers, what they do. And, we talk of D2C. I don't know how relevant that is for a consumer. So I just wanted her insights on how, brands especially should look at this whole area.
Okay, so the toughest question comes to me. But you're right that I don't think customers really care whether it's D2C or D2X, okay? I think they're really saying the customer is only one religion. Is it giving me perceived value or not? And value comes from intangibles, as I think NewMe has explained very clearly, and it comes in many different ways. So I think consumers are, the promise of D2C, I mean, let's talk about what is the promise of D2C. One is that, of course, you're screwing all the middlemen along the way, but that is a promise to you. What is the promise to your customer of D2C? The promise is that you know me so well that you are able to fashion things for me and create an environment for me where the promise that you wanted based on knowing me and the promise that I got is exactly the same. That's why offline works. I mean, in online, if you can do that, I mean, be my guest, that's fine. But you're not able to do that. So I think the D2C promise, if it has to be fulfilled, requires you to know your customer very well. Because whoever's buying online, if you expand it, maybe that well is run dry. You will never know how dry that well is. You will never know, which is why scaling is so difficult, right? You can scale to 100 places, but are you scaling with a customer group that you know very well? I think that's really one part of it. So while there's a lot of talk of customers, it's knowing your customer that's really important. Customers truly don't really care a lot about any of the supply side stuff. But if your format, your promise is choose the value, deliver the value, and signal the value. I think it's the signaling the value that has a lot of value to customers, because if they understand what it is that you're all about, from the way they come across to you, that you come across to them, then it makes a big deal difference to them. So customers do recognize online, and they do recognize offline. I don't know that they recognize how the offline happens. And I think that's really where I see things. I think customers understand the value language, the relevance language, the what do you have for me language. So I mean, the whole point about business is to add value to that guy and extract value from that guy or girl. In whichever form you do it, they really don't care.
Okay, I think we're running late, but I'm just going to ask each member of the panel just to sort of, any thoughts, any areas we haven't covered, anything else you'd like to say, just as a wrap up, and we'll just go around.
So, I mean, it's as I mentioned, D2C brands are very relevant, and we welcome them in the offline space, and it helps them, and it helps us as small developers. It's a very, very good proposition.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, Mandar.
Look, I think D2C in a way is just a channel, right? And it got, was in direct to consumer, and it got amplified mainly during COVID. And the thesis was that a lot of it could be sold only through marketplace, initially only on the website, then marketplaces. And then everybody over the years have found out that you need offline for it to become successful. But there is a large opportunity to build great brands in India. There is a big opportunity for new brands to mushroom in different categories. And like I said before, like just from a structure point of view, GDP point of view, demographic point of view, India is at a stage of inflection where consumers need new brands that they can resonate with, that they feel attached to, personalized. And like we feel that there is this sector of, say, consumer brands, D2C, like it's a large sector which is just at an inflection point.
Ali, I'll quickly come to you. And Forum South was planned many years ago, it got delayed, got launched now. Now that you're doing another 5, 6 new malls, is your planning going to be any different in terms of how you look at consumer segments, brands, space allocation?
Yeah, so when NewMe opened, we learned something. We gave them space on second floor.
Right.
Yeah. And it was about 1,500 square feet store. And of course, these brands have this ego. They don't want to go to upper floors, and ground floor is the only floor. It's either ground floor or nothing. So that kind of situation that we all face. So NewMe opened on second floor, and they did about 65 lakhs in the first month. So that's a phenomenal number, which is more than 2,000 rupees a square feet trading density. And they're consistently doing that. And what I learned was they did even better when they opened in some mall in Mumbai. So one is they're changing the theory, they're changing the rules. So rules are going to change when more players come in. So that is something that will change. So it will not be restricted to ground floor, first floor. And second thing is, people in India spend more money in their homes than wardrobes. And that we haven't seen. Though we know of these brands and we approach them, we put a lot of effort in reaching them, but they are not confident whether it will work in malls. So that is something that we're hoping to change. The store sizes we are hoping to change. And repetition of brands, the usual suspects that we go and lock space. So there is this need that you immediately commit 60-70% of your space, even when you're constructing a building. So that is not going to happen now. So we're going to wait because we don't know what new trends are going to happen and what new brands, and I don't know how many more D2C brands are going to become, superstars like some of you guys, and Dhruv there with Pan Project, and Snitch, one more brand that we know of and who's not here. So it's important for us to hold our cards till the end, and we're not going to lease out to the usual suspects 80%, 90%. And sometimes, we boast that, my mall is not yet open, but 100% of the mall is leased. I think even after mall opening, even after running the mall for a year, we should still hold 20% of the space and not lease out the space, because we don't know what's going to change. So that is going to change, at least from prestige. We are not in rush. And we're going to wait it out, and we are going to look for depths. We are going to look for more products and more offerings beyond wardrobe.
Well, that's good news for the DTC. Sanil, any thoughts?
I think one of the areas that I'm going to highlight very quickly is going offline is, it's a matter of when, not if, in the journey. But it's important and I've seen this having, fortunately backed so many brands that they all aspire, there's an aspirational value of going offline, which will remain and it's only going to grow. But don't just be rash about it. Therefore, I'm just speaking out what I've spoken to a lot of our founders about, therefore partner with the right people. Going offline is an experience, and you have to own the entire experience, be it the location, the environment, a lot of points that have been mentioned by the good folks over here, which is why, when it comes down to what everyone over here has spoken about, it's a full stack solution that becomes your playbook. And then there are multiple playbooks, again, just resonating with what, ma'am's said, and I can't wait to read her book, is that there are multiple playbooks that work. But what's your playbook? And then being able to replicate it, right? NewMe is a classic, great example of that. And we were discussing that he's created his own playbook. Now, it doesn't mean it's relevant for the second NewMe. That's not their playbook. And I think that's where, you all come in as Light Store and just ensure that you're being able to aid. And I think that's what really resonates with me, because I think a founder is great at one thing, good at many things, and has to learn the rest. And I think in offline, you can't jeopardize trying to learn on the job. That's where the entire ecosystem comes in.
Okay, great. Last word from Rama, just to sort of summarize on what she's heard and any last thoughts.
This market abounds with opportunity, and the big guys have seeded all the space, and the smaller, the consumer is really, I'm going to end with a quote that I borrowed from someone called Santosh Desai, that to Indians today, life is not a condition to be endured, but a product to be experienced. And the big guys aren't there, and there's lots and lots of opportunities. So I think you can create and write your script, provided you genuinely add value to consumers in whatever way you choose to add value.
So nice.
Great, thanks. I think I've been told we're way out of time. So thank you very much. I want to thank the panel.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you to the moderator.